Do true, false, not given, and matching heading questions give you a headache? Well, then this video is exactly for you. My name is Deeksha Mehta, and today I'll show you the method, the strategies that you need to use to solve these question types. And additionally, I will give you one hack each for both these question types, which will not just simplify them for you, but also it'll ensure that you get all the answers correct. Let me break the suspense. So let me give you the first hack. For the matching heading questions, did you know that your answer is always going to be in the first two sentences of the paragraph? So you actually don't need to read the entire paragraph carefully. Let's see how this works in this video. So in today's session, we looked at task explanation, the hacks and strategies for both matching headings and true false not given, and guided practice. So we'll be following a set task to check if you've understood questions or not. So let's look at how exactly your question would look like in case of matching headings. So you would be given a text. We'll be using the same text for both these tasks here. So here is your text. I know you can't read it, that's fine. This is not important right now. What is important is that you would be given a text with a lot of paragraphs. So as you can see, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So it goes on to, let's say, J. And you would be given a list of headings. So here is your list of headings. Now these are what is important. All you need to do for this task type is select one heading and mention which paragraph does it talk about. So we look at what strategies need to be followed. So the first thing that you need to notice is that you have around 9 headings, whereas you have only A to F as the paragraph, which means you have only 6 paragraphs in total. So you would have 3 spare extra headings which would be left over even after you finish choosing all the headings. Let's look at the strategies that you need to follow for this task type. So the first is read the headings first so that you're familiar with them. A lot of students jump straight to the text. That is not something I would recommend that you do. Read the headings carefully and then begin your reading your text paragraph by paragraph. Read the first paragraph and choose the first heading for it. So choose whichever heading you feel is the most apt, even if that's not the one that you're completely sure about. So if you're confused between two headings, that's all right. Write both the numbers of the headings in front of that first paragraph and strike the heading that you've chosen. So remove that heading, strike through it to make sure that you don't get confused again and again. All right, now coming to the hack. So as I said at the beginning of the video, reread the first 2 sentences of each paragraph, and that is where you will find your answer. So the heading is mostly in a paraphrased version of the first 2 sentences. We'll look at how. All right, so let's begin. Let's look at the first paragraph of this text. So this is the first paragraph of your text. After hours of driving south in the pitch black darkness of the Nevada desert, a dome of hazy gold suddenly appears on the horizon. Soon a road sign confirms the obvious: Las Vegas 30 miles. Looking skyward, you notice that the Big Dipper is harder to find than it was an hour ago. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm only going to take the first 2 sentences, which are from here till here. So this is what I need to focus on. Let's now check the list of headings and see if any of these fit on this first paragraph. So the first heading that I have is why lights are needed. So do these 2 sentences anywhere, talk about the reasons for why light is needed. So this heading essentially means that your paragraph would talk about the reasons why light is needed. And as is obvious, these 2 sentences do not talk about the reasons for the requirement of light. Let's look at the second one. Light discourages lawbreakers. All right, this also is not apparent in these 2 sentences. Moving forward, the environmental dangers. So no dangers are present in the entire paragraph. And people are at risk from bright lights. So no. It talks about pitch black darkness, but it does not talk about bright lights. And illuminating space. So no. So yes, it does say hazy gold suddenly appears on the horizon, but then it doesn't talk about illuminating space as such. All right, moving forward, a problem lights do not solve. Again, not something that is discussed in the first two sentences. And seen from above, again, not really apparent. So it talks about looking skyward, but that is not in the first two sentences. And also, it talks about looking skyward, not something that is seen from above. So these are actually contradicting. And the last one, more light than is necessary. So, no, this does not talk about more light than is necessary as well. And the last one is approaching the city. All right, so it does mention the name of a city in these two sentences, which is one is Nevada, and the second. So yes, sorry, it mentions about the Nevada desert, and it talks about Las Vegas, the city. All right, so then if you read these two sentences carefully, so it talks about after hours of driving south. If you picturize this, if you try to imagine, it says after hours of driving south in the darkness of the desert, a dome of hazy gold appears on the horizon. So, when does something like this happen? When you're approaching a city, when you're entering one city from a dark area. So, that is when it happens. And again, in the next sentence, it makes it very clear. So, soon a road sign confirms the obvious. Las Vegas 30 miles, which means that Las Vegas is approaching, is you're about to enter Las Vegas in 30 miles. In 30 miles, all right. So that this is why the answer for the first paragraph, the headline for the first paragraph is approaching the city. So these are the two sentences which are confirming the same to me. And as I said, the third sentence is not required. So now what we do is we strike out this sentence and then we focus on the second paragraph. So let's look at the second paragraph, paragraph B. So let's read the first two sentences. As I said, only the first two sentences till here are important, and I'm going to remove the rest of the paragraph. So I'll only focus on the first two sentences. Light pollution, the artificial light that illuminates more than its intended target area, has become a problem of increasing concern across the country over the past 15 years. In the suburban region where overlit shopping mall parking lots are the norm, only 200 of the Milky Way's 2,500 stars are visible on a clear night. Even fewer can be seen from large cities. All right, again, let's begin from the first heading. So, does this talk about the reasons that light is needed? So it does say that light illuminates some area, but then it doesn't talk about various reasons of why light is needed. Lighting discourages lawbreakers. So, in the first two sentences, no such thing is mentioned. The environmental dangers. So, no, it says that fewer stars can be seen, but that line is not in the first two sentences. People at risk from bright lights. No, this as well it can be crossed out. So, illuminating space. All right. So, it does talk about, illuminating some area. So, let's keep this aside and we'll come back to this. Let's look at the next one. So a problem lights do not solve. So it does not talk about any problems as such seen from above. So no, it talks about the stars which we see from below, but this is contradictory again. More light than is necessary. So if you read this, the artificial light that illuminates more than its intended target area, so more light than is necessary, again in the suburbs overlit shopping mall. So these are two indications which tell you that this is slightly more suitable as compared to just a vague illuminating space as a heading, because it does not talk about the space being illuminated, although it does talk about Milky Way, but not in that context. So this brings us to our second conclusion, that this is the correct heading for this paragraph. So more light than is necessary. All right. Again, I'm going to strike through the one that I've already found and moving forward to paragraph C. All right. Again, take a second to read the entire paragraph. And then what you need to do is focus on only the first two sentences. So I'm hoping that you've read the entire paragraph. You've paused the video and read it. All right, let's focus on the first two sentences. So, America has become so bright that in a satellite image of the United States at night, the outline of the country is visible from its lights alone. The second sentence, the major cities are all there in bright clusters: New York, Boston, Miami, Houston, LA, Seattle, Chicago, and of course, Las Vegas. Mark Adams, superintendent of the observatory, says that the very fact that city lights are visible from on high is proof of their wastefulness. All right, so let's begin again from the first one. Why lights are needed? So it does not give any reasons of why light is required. Lighting discourages lawbreakers, so no, the first two sentences do not talk about this, neither about the environmental dangers. People at risk from bright lights, no. Illuminating space, all right. So this may be, all right, let's see again if it talks about this. America has become so bright that in the satellite image of the United States, the outline of the country is visible. So it is focusing more on the visibility on United States as compared to, illuminating space. So again, this is not your answer. A problem lights do not solve. So, no, these two sentences do not talk about a problem that lights do not solve. And the last one, seen from above. So, yes, it does talk about a satellite image of the United States. So it is an image that is seen from above, and it talks about the outline of the country which is visible because of the lights. Again, if you read the second sentence, so city lights are visible from on high. This is a clear synonym for seen from above. So this is how we figured out this is the correct heading for this paragraph, and I'm going to strike through again. Let's move on to the next paragraph. All right, so I want you to pause the video and take a few seconds to read this paragraph. All right, moving forward again, I'm going to only take the first two sentences for this paragraph. All right, so now this paragraph is a slight exception. So the first two sentences are definitely important. Now this paragraph needs to be tackled in a different way. Let's look at that. So yes, the first two sentences do give us a way in which we can strike through the wrong answers. So now another thing that I want you to, another hack that I can give you is whenever you have a paragraph like this, wherein there are a lot of proper nouns, what I want you to do is just, if you have a paper based test, just strike through those proper nouns because they are blocking the meaning of your paragraph. For example, so Elizabeth Alvarez, I'm going to just block out this. Elizabeth of where is not important. So I'll just block out the entire two sentences. So Elizabeth says that overly bright security lights can actually force neighbors to close the shutters, which means that if any criminal activity does occur on the street, no one will see it. And the old assumption that bright lights deter crime appears to have been a false one. All right, again, I'm going to strike through this proper noun. A new report concludes that there is no documented correlation between the level of lighting and the level of crime in an area. So after crossing out all of this, this is the short paragraph that I'm left with. This is how much striking through proper nouns will help you in your IELTS exam. All right, let's focus on the first sentence. First two sentences. So, but don't we need all those lights to ensure our safety? The answer is an emphatic no. So the first two sentences, if you join them together, they tell you that you don't need lights to ensure your safety. So definitely this is crossed out. Why lights are needed? It's actually talking about the contradictory statement. So it says lighting is not needed to ensure safety, which means that lighting discourages lawbreakers is not the right answer. It is definitely not talking about the environmental dangers of light. People at risk from bright lights. All right. So this is again not something that it mentions or gives an example for. It is just stating that light does not ensure safety. It is not stating that people are at risk or lights are dangerous for people. So this is not given. So this is crossed out. Illuminating space. So no, that is again not something that is being mentioned. All right. A problem lights do not solve. So, light does not ensure safety, which means safety is a problem. Safety is something that is not being assured. So, crime is a problem that lights are not solving. To further verify that whether I have the right answer or not, now what you can do is you can read the rest of the paragraph and that will confirm that this answer is indeed correct. Let's read the paragraph. So, going below, it says, and the old assumption that bright lights deter crime appears to have been a false one. Contrary to popular belief, more crimes occur in broad daylight than at night, which means that crime is a problem that lights do not solve. So, yes, we did get the hint from the first two sentences. However, for verifying the answer, we had to read the entire paragraph. All right, so this brings me to the point that this 6 is the correct answer for this paragraph, and I shall strike through this one. Moving forward to paragraph E, again, go ahead and take a few sentences to read the entire paragraph, and then we shall only be looking at the first two sentences. We'll be rereading them carefully. So, for drivers, light can actually create a safety hazard. Glaring lights can temporarily blind drivers, increasing the likelihood of an accident. All right. So, does this talk about why lights are needed? No, in fact, it's talking about the opposite. It's talking about the disadvantages of lights. So, this is not the answer. Lighting discourages lawbreakers. It does not cover that. The environmental dangers. So, not exactly the environmental dangers. It's talking about the dangers of light on people, on drivers, so not on the environment. So this is again not the answer. And moving forward, people at risk from bright lights. So yes, this is the correct answer for this paragraph. So I shall put this as the heading and I will strike through this heading. Moving forward, coming to the last paragraph. Again, take a few seconds to read the entire paragraph, and then you can only focus on the first two sentences to find the answer. So, badly designed lighting can pose a threat to wildlife as well as people. So, now it's talking about the threats or the dangers associated with lighting and how it affects wildlife and people. And it's giving, in the second sentence, it gives an example of newly hatched turtles which move towards beach lights instead of the more muted silver shimmer of the ocean. So, how it affects turtles. So, from the two sentences itself, there are a lot of other examples in the paragraph which definitely verify the answer. But just from the first two sentences, we know that it's talking about the dangers of light on the environment, which means that definitely not this, not this, and not this. So the answer is the environmental dangers of light. And there you go, we have found the last answer for last heading for the last paragraph. All right. So we look at the same paragraph and talk about true, false, and not given questions. So here you have the same paragraph. Again, it's not very clearly visible. That's all right. I'll just zoom it in a second. What is more important is how exactly your question looks like. So this is what your question would look like. So you have three options: true, false, and not given, or it would be yes, no, and not given. So you should mark true only when the statement agrees with the information, false if the statement is exactly opposite to or is contradicting the information, it's proving the information false, and not given when there's absolutely no information or there is not exact information present in the paragraph. All right, here are your four statements. So read these statements carefully and let's see the strategies that we need to follow to solve this question task. So the first thing that you need to do is identify keywords in the questions and scan for keywords. All right. So what you need to do is in these questions, you need to scan for keywords. So for example, one group of scientists find their observations are made difficult. So let's say these are your keywords: scientists and observations made difficult. So you need to scan this entire text for, you need to quickly, scan it and find where can I find scientists or where can I find synonyms for scientists. We look at this in more detail. So scan for those keywords or synonyms or antonyms of keywords. Read the sentences carefully to see if they deal with the question. So what does that mean? You need to read the sentences carefully again after you found the keyword. Go back and read the sentence again and see, does this give information, exact information about the question? The answers are going to be in sequence. This is a major tip. So once you've found, let's say, the second and the fourth answer, the third answer is going to be in between these two. And some of the sentences in the question are not addressed in the passage. So when you have such a situation wherein the exact information is not being addressed, it means that the answer is not given. And now time for the hack. So the hack is that you need to convert the question statements to questions. So what does that mean? Remember the first statement that we saw? One group of scientists find their observations are made more difficult by bright lights. So convert this into a question. It is it is psychologically more easy for us. It's easier for us when we convert them into questions to give a yes or no answer. It becomes clearer for us. So for example, you can simply add one word in front of this sentence to make it a question. So, were the observations of scientists made more difficult by bright lights? It might seem like an additional task, but believe me, it will make your life a lot easier, and this will lead to 100% accuracy in your results. So we look at convert these statements into questions, and we look at how it makes things easier. All right. So here you have again the entire paragraph. Please pause the video and take a few minutes to quickly scan through this paragraph. All right, I hope you've done that. And let's focus on the first question that we have. So, one group of scientists find their observations are made more difficult by bright light. So, scientists is our keyword, and I will quickly try to scan this paragraph, this entire text, to look for synonyms of scientists. And I found that at two places. So one is here where it talks about light engineers and astronomers, and the second is its cadre of astronomers. So these are the two places where I found synonyms of the word scientist. So I'm going to just quickly, that means that this is where my answer either here or my answer is going to be here. So I'm just going to leave out this area and focus on these two paragraphs. All right, so let's read these paragraphs. The answer from light engineers, light pollution control advocates, and astronomers is no. Um, Elizabeth says that overly bright security lights can actually force neighbors to close the shutters. So, this entire paragraph is not talking about any observations made by the scientists. Let's read further. So, let's read the second one. The city has one of the best lighting ordinances in the country. Kitt Peak National Optical Astronomy Observatory has 24 telescopes aimed skyward around the city's perimeter, and its cadre of astronomers needs a dark sky to work with. For a while, that darkness was threatened. So, what do these scientists need? These scientists need a dark sky, which means that darkness was threatened. How? So, because of the bright lights, their observations, their work was made more difficult. So because they need a dark sky, lights made their observations difficult, which is exactly what this statement says. So which means that this information is true. Moving forward to the next sentence. So it is expensive to reduce light pollution. So now I know I need to focus on the paragraphs after the paragraph G because the answer was here. So I'm going to focus on the paragraphs after this one. So because the answers are in sequence, they're in an order, I don't need to read the paragraphs before this. All right. Now I need to look for the keywords expensive or reduce light pollution. So here I found the keywords. So everyone benefits from reduced energy costs. So I will read this carefully. Wasted energy from inefficient lighting costs us between $1 and $2 billion a year. The city of San Diego, which installed new high efficiency street lights after passing a light pollution law, saves $3 million a year. So after installing high efficiency street lights, so it reduced the cost. So it is expensive to reduce light pollution. It is actually the contradictory statement that this paragraph is giving. This paragraph says that they reduced on the costs, which means that it is actually cheaper to reduce light pollution. All right, so this is false. Moving forward to number 12. So now I need to look for the answer of 12 in the paragraph below I. So in this paragraph, however, there's absolutely nothing in this paragraph which talks about many countries now making light pollution illegal. All right, so there's something about states making passing laws. So, but that's in a paragraph above this paragraph. So here, um, it talks about here it talks about different states passing a light pollution bill. So the same thing is happening in a handful of other states. But A, this answer is not following the sequence, and B, it talks about a handful of other states, whereas this says many countries passing a light pollution bill. So, which has absolutely nothing, if you know, absolutely nothing to do with making light pollution illegal. So, a bill is a proposed law and it does not talk about making light pollution illegal. So, which is why there is absolutely nothing mentioned about this statement in these in this text. So, this is not given. All right. And the fourth question, so old types of light often cause more pollution than more modern ones. So you simply need to ask yourself this question. Do old types of light cause more pollution than modern ones? All right. So reading for um, this sentence, I will look for the keywords old types of light um, and cause pollution. So I will look for these keywords and I found them here. So I found old bulbs and fixtures. So replacing old bulbs and fixtures with more efficient and better designed ones can make a big difference in preserving the night sky. And here it talks about legislation isn't the only answer to light pollution problems. So this is a solution to light pollution. What this basically means is replacing old bulbs makes a difference in reducing the pollution. So what that's exactly what the statement says. Old types of light often cause more pollution, which is why replacing them makes a huge difference. So this is true. All right. So this is how you can convert the statements into questions and solve the true false not given question easily. So if you liked this video, do comment and let us know what modules would you like us to cover next.